You are listening to The Vocal Technologist. Spoken tech for your ears.
Imagine firing your senior developers because, like, a junior designer just built a perfect production-ready app in 10 minutes using AI.
Right, which sounds great on paper.
Exactly, until you imagine that same 10-minute app secretly bankrupting your company 2 years later because you skipped one vital step.
Yeah, that is the nightmare scenario.
So today, we're exploring the hidden cost of all this instantaneous creation. Welcome to the deep dive. We're looking at a massive stack of design, tech, and AI newsletters from late April and early May 2026. And the goal here is to really make sense of a seismic shift that is currently rewiring the creative and tech industries.
And that mission is just so critical for you listening right now, because we are watching AI rapidly evolve from a basic helpful tool into an autonomous proactive agent.
Right.
We really need to understand what that transition means for the future of human creativity, the physical hardware we interact with, and honestly, just the digital products you use every single day.
Yeah, and the word velocity almost it feels inadequate for what the source material is describing. We're seeing updates that fundamentally change manual workflows basically overnight. Like, I'm looking at these reports on OpenAI's new Images 2.0 model, and it's being described as a system that actually reasons before it draws.
Yeah, that's a huge leap.
But what does that actually mean under the hood? Like, how does an image generator reason?
Well, consider how the previous generation of AI worked. It acted kind of like a reflex, right? You gave it a prompt, and it instantly just spilled pixels onto the canvas based on statistical probability.
Okay.
Images 2.0 introduces a pause. It's like a computational chain of thought. So before generating a single pixel, it researches your prompt, drafts the structural skeleton of the composition, tests the logic of the lighting, and it even searches the web for factual references.
Wow, so it's actually doing the prep work.
Yeah, exactly. That multi-step internal process is why it's suddenly hitting 99% text rendering accuracy across multiple languages. And it's outputting up to 8 coherent images at once. I mean, it's functioning like an art director, not just a paintbrush.
So it's moving from being, a fun novelty demo to a completely reliable production tool, and we're seeing that integration happen across the whole industry, not just in web browsers.
Oh, far beyond web browsers. Look at Anthropic's new Claude integrations. It's no longer confined to a chat window.
Right.
It plugs directly into heavy-duty professional apps like Adobe Photoshop and Blender.
Which is wild to think about.
It is. The mechanism here is that it can now read your application's internal data. It sees your layers, your 3D meshes, your file structures, and it interacts directly within those complex interfaces to execute changes.
Okay, I understand the technical leap there, but the financial stakes attached to this speed just seem almost disproportionate. Like, why are companies throwing such astronomical valuations at these tools?
Well, they're doing it because instantaneous generation solves massive operational bottlenecks. Take Magnific, for instance.
Right, the upscaling tool.
Yeah, the AI upscaling and creative platform. They just hit $230 million in annual recurring revenue as a fully bootstrapped company.
That's insane.
It is. Or look at the coding AI platform, Cursor. They just partnered with SpaceX, and built into that deal is an option for SpaceX to outright buy the startup for a staggering $60 billion.
Wait, 60 billion? But why does a company launching physical rockets care so much about an AI coding assistant?
Because a rocket company manages tens of millions of lines of mission-critical telemetry code. A human engineer simply cannot hold the entire architecture of that codebase in their head.
Ah, okay. But the AI can.
Exactly. Cursor's AI holds the entire context of the repository in its memory, which prevents cascade failures when a developer alters a single line of code. So the value isn't just writing code faster, it's the instantaneous understanding of massive, complex systems.
And that instantaneous understanding is bleeding into consumer web development too, right? Because the prototype Adobe showcased Project Page Turner, it claims to generate highly personalized custom websites in under 100 milliseconds.
Yeah, and it doesn't just load a pre-existing page.
No.
It reads your user profile, infers your current intent, and compiles a completely unique layout. It's writing modular code on the fly to build a site specifically for you.
That is just nuts.
Add to that startups like Lovable, who just launched mobile apps for iOS and Android that let users build full web applications through simple voice prompts, a process they're calling vibe coding.
Okay, let's unpack this concept of vibe coding because it really points to a massive paradigm shift in how we build things. For the past decade, designers have relied on design systems, right? Like rule books that tell human developers, here is exactly how our buttons and menus should look.
Right.
But the sources note that these static design systems are basically dying and they're being replaced by inference systems. I'm trying to picture how that actually works in practice.
What's fascinating here is the shift in logic. Think of a traditional design system, like a Lego instruction manual. It has fixed step-by-step rules.
Okay.
An inference system is more like a master builder watching you play. It sees you putting a few gray blocks together, infers that you're trying to build a castle, and dynamically starts handing you the exact right drawbridge and turret pieces.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it actively learns from what your team is building and generates the machine-parsable parameters needed to construct the next interface automatically.
Okay, so instead of giving a builder a detailed, millimeter-perfect blueprint, it's like I can just walk up to an empty plot of land, whisper a vibe to the dirt, and literally watch the system assemble the house out of thin air.
That is the illusion, yes.
Yeah.
But just because the house builds itself quickly doesn't mean it's structurally sound.
Right.
And this brings us to the hidden cost of all this efficiency. There's a growing philosophical argument in the design world right now, emphasizing that output isn't design.
Well, to play devil's advocate here, if I'm a business owner and a junior designer can use AI to deliver a perfect-looking, highly functional user interface in 10 minutes, why do I care about the philosophical definition of design? I mean, speed and cost usually win. I want the 10-minute output.
You want it until it breaks your engineering pipeline.
Okay, fair point.
Because the AI is just generating a highly polished result based on statistical averages. It completely lacks critical self-evaluation. It doesn't pause and think, does this interface actually solve the underlying edge cases of our specific users? This creates what the industry is calling the UX designer's nightmare.
Because the industry now expects those designers to deliver the production-ready code themselves.
Exactly. This massive role creep forces UX designers to focus on technical output rather than deep user research. So when they skip that deliberate human process to pump out a coded prototype, the underlying user flows are left undefined.
And so the developers who actually have to plug this app into the company's database are forced to make assumptions. I see. And those assumptions lead to massive technical debt.
And endless clarification loops, which drastically increase costs and basically slow the engineering team to a crawl. Furthermore, relying on these quick AI tools introduces visual drift and component debt.
Those terms popped up a lot in the newsletters. What is the actual mechanism behind visual drift?
So visual drift happens when an AI generates a button that looks identical to your company's official button, but under the hood, it isn't actually hooked up to your company's central code library.
Ah, so it's an imposter.
Exactly. And component debt is the nightmare that follows. When developers have to go back and untangle that AI-generated spaghetti code to reconnect it to the established design system, well, it often takes longer than if a human had just built the interface from scratch.
Wow. And beyond the code, there's a really fascinating structural cost to this speed mentioned in the source material. It turns out that eliminating friction in the workplace might actually be a terrible idea.
Yeah, the MIT and Harvard research highlighted in the newsletters points to the value of informal bugging.
Informal bugging, yeah.
When you don't have an AI to instantly solve a problem, you're forced to tap a senior colleague on the shoulder. Those serendipitous human interruptions, they can be annoying, sure, but the data shows they're actually the primary engine for building team trust, psychological safety, and true innovation.
So by introducing a tool that gives everyone instant answers, we're essentially isolating employees.
Yes.
And isolated employees burn out and leave. So that 10-minute UI could literally cost you your best talent.
Which is exactly why professional creators are actively rebelling against simple one-shot AI tools. They're realizing the danger of the black box, and they are demanding granular control.
Right.
This is why a project like Comfy UI just hit a $500 million valuation.
Because it uses a node-based workflow. For anyone who hasn't used a tool like that, how does it differ from just typing a prompt into, say, Mid-Journey?
Think of standard AI image generation like a drive-through. You speak your prompt into a box, and out comes a sealed bag.
You get what you get.
Right. If the image is wrong, your only option is to order a whole new one and hope it's better.
Yeah.
A node-based workflow is more like walking into the kitchen. It breaks the AI process into a visual flow chart or nodes.
Okay.
So you can intercept the AI at every single station. You could tweak the underlying sketch, adjust the line art, alter the lighting parameters, and really direct the final render. Creators want oversight, not a black box that just spits out a guess.
And we have a very stark example in the source material of why trusting that black box is so dangerous. Let's look at the documented bug in Canva's Magic Layers AI tool,
Right.
sticking strictly to the objective facts reported in our sources. The AI was found to be silently replacing the word Palestine with Ukraine in user designs. Canva patched the bug, apologized for the distress, called it an isolated issue, and launched an audit. And the sources note this fits a documented pattern of AI bias previously seen in tools from Meta and OpenAI. So the critical takeaway here isn't about taking a political stance. We are simply reporting on the content provided. The takeaway is the structural flaw of trusting an AI system that makes hidden editorial decisions without human oversight.
It forces us to question the entire architecture of these systems. And the flaws aren't limited to visual generation. They affect how we interact with knowledge itself.
Yeah.
The newsletters highlight the forgotten conversation problem. Like, we are using chat interfaces like ChatGPT to interact with incredibly smart models. But a scrolling chat thread is a fundamentally terrible way to index knowledge.
Because it's entirely ephemeral. Like, decades of computer science research show that humans need searchable, linkable knowledge architectures. When you solve a complex problem with an AI in a chat window, that brilliant insight just vanishes up the screen as soon as you start a new topic.
The architecture is lossy. And we see that lossiness when companies try to use AI for complex usability testing. One newsletter detailed this experiment where ChatGPT was asked to evaluate a 6-minute user session on OpenTable.
Oh, I remember reading this.
While it identified some surface-level problems, it totally hallucinated other issues and straight up forgot the state of the interface halfway through.
Wow.
You simply cannot replace human researchers with a system that forgets what it's analyzing.
And that growing realization seems to be triggering real legal guardrails now. A federal court recently granted a preliminary injunction in favor of a company called IO. This ruling actually blocks OpenAI and former Apple designer Jony Ive from using the name IO for their highly anticipated AI hardware brand, citing a strong likelihood of consumer confusion.
That injunction is a massive signal. The era of tech giants moving fast, breaking things, and steamrolling over existing systems with AI, it's finally facing institutional structural pushback.
So, if the digital world is becoming this infinite sea of instant, potentially flawed, and totally sterile AI generation, how do humans actually stand out? Like, how do we balance this incredible speed with the need for exact, reliable control?
Well, the answer lies in the physical world. While software becomes increasingly automated and ubiquitous, hardware, physical design, and brand identities are executing a massive counter-movement.
Interesting.
They're doubling down on highly deliberate, human-centric experiences. Because when digital output is cheap and instant, human intent becomes the ultimate premium commodity.
You see that pivot perfectly embodied by Apple's incoming CEO, Jorn Turnus. He recently addressed his employees, and while he acknowledged the, almost unlimited potential of AI, he firmly stated that Apple is not pivoting to become an AI-first company.
Right.
He is strictly protecting their core identity, using AI only to serve human-centric design, privacy, and security.
And their entire user experience philosophy proves that point. Apple doesn't rely on throwing a million AI features at a user. They use structured, progressive narratives.
What does that mean, exactly?
They deliberately pace the interface to break down cognitive effort step by step. That human pacing is the mechanism behind their massive 5 to 10% conversion rates on product pages. I mean, that dwarfs the industry average.
They even leaned into deliberate human imperfection for their marketing. Like when they launched the MacBook Neo, they didn't just type a prompt into an AI video generator. The behind-the-scenes footage showed them using physical, handcrafted props combined with traditional CGI. They wanted the viewer to feel the tactile nature of the product.
And that tactile focus is dominating the upcoming hardware leaks. The iPhone 18 Pro is rumored to introduce a variable aperture camera.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that isn't a software trick. That is a deeply physical mechanical upgrade giving the user actual photographic control. We are seeing reports of a $2,500 book-style iPhone Fold 2. Even the software that lives on this hardware is rebelling against sterile data.
Like the Pedometer ++8 app for the Apple Watch. They did a complete redesign, basically abandoning rigid technical data displays for a bold, colorful, deeply friendly interface that just feels human.
There are even highly technical, almost invisible fixes happening right under our noses to prioritize biology over mathematics. The digital design world is quietly abandoning the old HSL color space and replacing it with OKLCH.
Okay, let's break those acronyms down. Why does a new color space actually matter?
So HSL stands for hue, saturation, and lightness. It separates color mathematically. But a mathematically perfect blue and a mathematically perfect yellow don't look equally bright to the human eye.
Right, of course not.
But HSL doesn't care. It just uses rigid math, which is why digital gradients often look kind of muddy. OKLCH is a color system that actually maps to the biology of the human retina.
Oh, that's
It
fascinating.
adjusts colors based on how our physical eyes process light and dark, aligning technology with actual human perception.
That desire to embrace messy human perception over perfect mathematical averages is completely taking over brand identities, too. Like, look at the LA 28 Olympics. They aren't using a static, perfectly symmetrical logo. They designed a flexible, typography-led system with multiple, constantly changing versions of the letter A to reflect the actual chaotic street culture of Los Angeles.
You see the exact same thing with St. Paul's Cathedral in London. They're blending traditional historic engravings with loud, modern color palettes. Or the Mosaic Rooms, which is an arts organization whose new visual identity uses a fluid logo that intentionally rejects stability. It constantly shifts to express the cultural duality of being in between.
Because AI seeks to resolve tension and find the statistical average, but strong human design embodies unresolved tension.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, major digital platforms are realizing they have to adapt their architectures to match how humans actually behave,
Right.
rather than forcing humans to interact with sterile systems. Xbox is retiring the corporate Microsoft gaming brand to focus entirely on the Xbox name, declaring their single North Star metric to be daily active players. They're abandoning rigid corporate structures to just meet players where they are.
Netflix is doing the exact same thing by launching a vertical, TikTok-style feed on their mobile app called Clips. They aren't relying on a grid of movie posters. They're presenting discovery in a format that feels natural to human attention right now. Even Snapchat is bringing AI-powered conversational ads directly into its chat tab, recognizing that users want to interact and talk, not just be broadcasted to.
All of this brings us to the ultimate synthesis of our deep dive today.
Yeah.
The source material refers to this as the new designer value proposition. If you are a professional in any creative or tech space, the shift you need to make is profound. You cannot compete with AI on speed.
Yeah, you cannot beat 100 milliseconds.
You will lose that race every single time. The shift is about repositioning yourself as a strategic director. For 20 years, the tech industry is focused on designing interfaces that users directly control.
Like physical buttons to touch screens.
Exactly. We moved from clicking physical buttons to swiping glass touchscreens. But the fundamental model was always the user pushing the button. We are now moving to an era where we design systems where users delegate tasks to autonomous AI agents.
Meaning the fundamental interaction model of technology has completely changed. Your job is no longer to be the one doing the clicking. Your job is to manage the agent that does the clicking for you.
And that is why this matters to you listening right now. Whether you're prepping for a major product meeting, trying to catch up on your field, or just fiercely curious about the future, the spoils belong to those who can edit, curate, and direct. Companies will increasingly rely on AI to handle routine execution, but they will desperately need human experts to provide strategic thinking, to understand cultural nuances, and to inject the deliberate intent that makes a product actually resonate with other humans.
It's a complete paradigm shift from creator to curator, which leaves us with a final, slightly provocative thought for you to mull over. If our primary job is no longer to draw the lines, write the code, or click the buttons, if our job is simply to manage the AI agents doing all that manual labor, how long until the fundamental skills we need to succeed aren't technical at all? Think back to that empty clod of land. If all you have to do is whisper a vibe to the dirt to build a house, the most important question is no longer how to lay the bricks. The most important question becomes purely managerial and philosophical. What kind of house should we actually be building? Are we designing our tools, or ultimately, are our tools designing us? Something to think about.
Spoken Tech for your ears.